How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here, and oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. The markets took a pretty big dump. The markets were down about 4.5%, and I want to go over with you all some thoughts about the markets, taking a look at the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ, and I also want to go over what I personally did in the markets today, plus a bunch of stocks and ETFs that I'm watching right now in the month of April. And believe it or not, a lot of these stocks today, guys, that I was watching, well, not a lot of them, some of them were actually green despite this huge red day, and obviously most of them got absolutely crushed, including the cruise line stocks and a lot of the airline stocks. So a lot to go over in today's video, guys, plus my thoughts in this market, kind of where I see it going and what I'm doing right now in the market. So a lot of value is going to be dropped, and all I ask from you, as always, is to hit that like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, and join our Discord group chat and our Facebook group, link down below. Those are 100% free of charge. So let's just get right into it, starting off with the S&P 500 today, guys, down 115 points, down nearly 4.5% in today's session. Pretty incredible move to the downside here, considering over the past couple of days we've been creeping up in this market. Take a look. If you guys have not been watching the S&P, we actually bottomed at about 2190. We rallied up, and a lot of people were saying, oh my goodness, this is the bottom, V-shaped recovery, we're flying back up. And I was saying, guys, and I've been saying this over the past couple of videos, this is likely to go back down, because in previous bull markets that we've seen, or rather bear markets, we've seen mini rallies within the bear markets. And to me, and I portrayed this in my previous couple of videos, this was simply that, a mini little rally in the bear market. And based off of what's been happening over the past couple of days, and especially today, the technicals are proving that, right? We're dropping. We're breaking major support levels. We're getting rejected by major resistances, one of them being that one that I've been talking about in these videos, the 180 SMA on this hourly chart, right? 2630. These are levels that we got rejected at. And a huge level of support on the S&P we broke today was 2580. So once we broke that level, I knew that we're likely going to maybe not fill the whole gap down, which we did, obviously, looking back on it, but I figured that if we broke 2580, we were going to fall maybe down to the middle of the channel, maybe a little bit above that, who knows? But I knew that we were going to see some downside, right? And at this point, with the close of the S&P today, this is pretty good, I guess, it's not good for the bulls, but it's good for the bulls in terms of we didn't dump further, right? Because if we were to break this level, I think there would be a lot more red in the market from a technical perspective, right? But the fact that the bulls held us above that at 2450, that gives us hope in terms of the bulls. Not saying I'm a bull, but it gives the bulls in the short term hope that this could rally back up to maybe 2580. But where the bears will come full charge, right? And they were full charge today, but where the bulls, or bears rather, will kick it in even further is when the S&P will drop, if it drops below 2450, because clearly if we get below that point, there is a pretty big gap down, potential for a gap down to about 2300. And from where we are now at 2450, another 150 points down would be roughly a 6% move in the S&P. So I'm thinking tomorrow, I don't know if we'll get it, but tomorrow, if we break this support, I'm thinking the S&P, maybe it won't fall 6% and fill that entire gap down, but I'm thinking that it could fall maybe another 2%, 3%, 4%. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, if we hold this support 2450 tomorrow, hey, we may see a little bounce back day before maybe dumping down even further. And when we take a look at some of the major indexes, the other ones, the Dow Jones down almost 1,000 points, down 973 to be exact, down 4.44%. Pretty rough day for the Dow Jones, getting rejected right around the same technical level as the S&P, being under that 180 SMA here on this hourly chart. And when we're taking a look at the NASDAQ, and you'll see in a little bit here, my trade today correlated to the NASDAQ. Well, one of my winning trades today, my only winning trade today, and the NASDAQ went down actually 4.19%, down about 330 points. And if you guys watched my video yesterday, I hammered in the point that 7650 was a major level of support on the NASDAQ, right? We were trading within this little range, 7650 and about 7950, that 300-point range. And the fact that we didn't break above it, right, that means pretty strong resistance on the upside. And with today's gap down, we broke 7650. That brought a lot more selling pressure, and it got us to the point where we were actually gapping down to the next level of support, which at this point we closed above on the NASDAQ, being at around 74.90. And tomorrow I'm thinking, if we gap below that, or we shoot below that, that could be pretty bad for the NASDAQ, and it could lead to more selling. So in terms of the market today, it was not good. The bears clearly won the day, and overall, it seems like the markets are at pretty critical levels still, pretty critical supports where, like I said, if we break these major levels on the NASDAQ, S&P, even the Dow Jones, right? The Dow Jones is at a major level of support as well, being right around 20,800, 900. If we break these levels, there's going to be more selling. There's going to be more pain in the stock market, and I think we are going down more. Are we going to go 20% down, 30% down from here? I have no idea, but will we retest the lows? I think there's a good chance. And again, I'm not right all the time. I make mistakes. You guys that watch the channel, you know that I'm not right all the time. I'm right sometimes, but I have a pretty good feeling that we are going to see some more pain here, especially because yesterday, what kind of spooked this market is the fact that President Trump is saying these next 2 weeks, in terms of the CV, it's going to be pretty bad. Honestly, this next month, it's going to be pretty bad, which, again, we've anticipated this. I've said this. The worst is yet to come, in my opinion, and I was right. I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I was right in terms of that, and I know a lot of other people out there, you were right as well. And let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts about that, the markets, the CV? Well, don't write anything about the CV because I might get demonetized like I have been recently. But either way, let me know down below, what are your thoughts? And speaking of this CV, we had a pretty big jump in cases overnight. Right now, I just wrote these numbers about 10 minutes ago before I started filming this video. Right now, 930,000 cases worldwide, 211,000 in the U.S. And we had a pretty big spike up from yesterday in the U.S. We have a 30,000 case spike up because yesterday when I was filming my video, we had about 181,000 cases here in the U.S. So this thing it's not slowing down. It is ripping through these numbers, right? They're ripping up. 20K increase the previous day. I think the day before that it was 20K increase. So in the past 3 days, guys, literally we have about 70,000 new cases in the past 3-4 days. This thing is not slowing down. If anything, it is speeding up right now, and the market, I feel like it's waiting on this curve to flatten. And even then, the economic damage is going to be long lasting, a couple months, maybe even a year. It's going to hurt the economy to the point where even if the curve flattens, we might still see downside in the market. And another thing that could happen here, guys, is Fed unlimited quantitative easing, right? Unlimited stimulus. If this market, if it does get lower to the lows that we talked about, if it does test those lows again, the Fed might come in. I really think it is going to come in. I mean, I don't think it's not, right? The Fed's going to come in and pump more stimulus, try to keep this economy more stable, to try and keep the market cool, because that is what the Fed's doing at the end of the day. Imagine if there wasn't any stimulus at all. Imagine that. This market probably would have fell through the floor. The Dow Jones would probably be at 15,000 right now. Let's be honest. If the Fed didn't step in, the S&P would be under 2,000 most likely. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. So again, let me know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on everything? And let's get into what I personally did today. And like I alluded to earlier, my first trade, my only winning trade today was in SQQQ. And like we all know, well, most of us, SQQQ is an ETF that tracks the NASDAQ, right? And do you guys recall that point, that level that I talked about on the NASDAQ being around 76.50? That is exactly where I got in. I used this level as kind of a confirmation point, because I knew if we popped on the NASDAQ, we tested 76.50, we didn't break up, I knew that this was likely to go down, because that means the bears overall, they won this point here, this 76.50 resistance. Because if this NASDAQ popped up above the moving averages too, that would have meant that there's likely a likelihood it could fill the gap up to maybe 7,800, 900, even 8,000, right? But the fact that we got rejected by the 50 SMA on this 5-day, 5-minute chart, we got rejected by 76.50, we started to dump aggressively. That gave me confirmation to get into SQQQ. And I didn't get in right at the top, right? I waited a little bit, and ultimately I got in right around 11:45 when the NASDAQ really confirmed in my eyes kind of a bigger drop down, a leg down. And at 11:45, SQQQ, if we take a look at it here on the daily chart, we can see this thing was running up. I believe I got in on this dip right here, actually a little bit after 11:45. It was right around here on this dip. 2090 is where my limit filled, and ultimately I just wanted to get a quick in and out, right? I wanted to get a quick little trade on this one, so I ended up just filling my order up to about this pre-market high, one of the pre-market highs, being roughly $21.25. And that is where I put my limit sell. So overall, it wasn't too big of a trade. Honestly, it was closer to the 1.5%. And if we take a look at my losing trade of the day, UGAZ, guys, UGAZ is one that yesterday, I traded the inverse, right? DGAS, which goes up whenever natural gas is going down. And we saw another massive day in DGAS today, and I was trying to get the bottom here of UGAS because, again, these are inverse ETFs. The goal is to play one of them, and as the other one falls down, you get into the other one and ride it back up. That's kind of the goal, right? And I saw you guys bottoming out a bit here at midday, right around the same time as SQQQ, that trade I took before, right? Or we talked about before. And I figured if you guys were to break 2250, 2260, and this overall downtrend on this daily chart, I figured we had a likelihood of filling the gap up to $23. And ultimately, I was wrong because it didn't happen, as you guys can clearly see on the chart. So I got in at about 2265 kind of early. I didn't wait for the full-on confirmation like I did with the previous trade, which is why, partially why I lost in this trade. And the goal was to grab roughly 1%, but ultimately it went down, and I had to cut my losses at about 1-ish%. And I use the mental stop loss here, guys. I talk about them a lot on the channel, and I do not advise beginners to use mental stop losses because a lot of the time your mind's going to play tricks on you. Because let's say you don't have an official stop loss in that's going to trigger once it hits, right? Let's say you're using your mental stop loss. You know, if the stock were to go down and it goes down 1% to the point where you would normally cut losses, your mind will play tricks on you sometimes, especially if you don't have much experience. Your mind will be like, no, don't cut losses. Wait a little bit. You know, it's going to go up. Wait a little bit. Yeah, wait a little bit. Then all of a sudden, it's down 5%. You're wishing you cut losses at 1%, and you lose more money, or you end up holding the bag, which sucks. So only use mental stop losses if you are extremely disciplined. And if you honestly are going to cut losses at 1%, you are very disciplined about it, because other ways your mind's going to play tricks on you. And I'm speaking from experience, guys. Trust me. I've lost plenty of money in the stock market doing exactly that. And I'm just sharing my experiences with you on the channel, as I always do. So let's get into, now that we talked about the markets, my trading, let's get into some stocks today that did surprisingly well despite the markets being down almost 5% on the day. And it makes sense why these stocks are doing well, because these companies are arguably the most used companies right now in the United States. That's obviously speculation, but a lot of people are clearing out these retail stores, and you guys know which ones I'm talking about. One of them being Walmart, ticker symbol WMT. This one was up 52 cents today, up 0.5%, which again, the market's being down 5%. That is pretty good. Another stock that did well today was Costco Wholesale Corporation. This is obviously a place where people go. They stock up on water, toiletries, paper, everything, food, and they were up $1.65 today, up 0.58%. And the other one, which did the best, I believe, out of the bunch, is Target, which was up 2.5% today, up $2.30. And am I going to make an investment based off of speculation that these companies are, people are running through their products, which they are, right? But am I going to make an investment based off of that? No. I'm not, right? That's stupid. I talk about that a lot on the channel. Don't make investments based off of short-term kind of speculation, and I'm talking about long-term investments. Trading is a whole different ballgame, but in my opinion, it's dumb to base long-term investments on that. And some other stocks today that did very poorly. One is CCL, guys. This thing got absolutely slaughtered. I had to double take when I looked at the price just about an hour ago. I was like, wait, down 33% today? Are you serious? Down $4.37. This thing just a couple days ago was $19. And again, this just goes to show, guys, don't be too excited when we see little short-term rallies, because it could be a trap. It could very well be a trap. Sure, maybe you can buy a little bit, but I think always keeping dry powder on the sidelines is smart, especially when there is likely for further downside and for the fundamentals to deteriorate, which right now they're deteriorating and they're probably going to continue to deteriorate. So CCL, guys, absolutely crushed. I do expect this to go even lower, right? You have to realize it's already at the point that it was in the previous sell-off, and in the previous sell-off, the markets were a lot worse at this point. So if the markets turn even worse, let's say the S&P goes to close to 2,000, CCL is going to be down in the 5s to the 6s probably, and we're going to have to wait and see, right? A lot of other stocks that got crushed. The airlines today got wiped out, guys. DAL, Delta down 16%. We have American Airlines down 12%, almost back down to a single-digit stock price. Save Spirit Airlines, let's see. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Spirit Airlines down 12% today. When we take a look at some bank stocks, they got obliterated as well. BAC down 7%. Let's take a look at Wells Fargo, down 7% as well. JP Morgan, which is arguably the best bank stock out there based on kind of just management. Jamie Dimon is great. I think he's a good CEO. But they also got crushed, down about 6.3%. And this is interesting, guys. If JP Morgan gets lower, it's not on my top, stocks to buy, but if it were to get into the 60s, 50s, maybe I'd consider picking up some JPM. We'll see. But either way, banking stocks, they are getting hit pretty hard today. And when we're taking a look at some big tech names, Netflix down 3%, and not too bad there, but Microsoft down almost 4%. This one got hit pretty hard today. Google down $57, down about 5%. Facebook down 4.5% today. Amazon down 2.16%. Apple down about $13. And out of the main tech stocks, guys, I have to say, in my opinion, I think Apple needs to drop more. I think Apple is the most overvalued. Let's put it at that. I think anything under $200 for Apple would be getting into a decent value. But even then, it's still kind of overvalued. I'm thinking 150, 160, that could be a range where I'd consider buying in terms of Apple. And when we're taking a look at gold kind of performed exactly how we talked about in yesterday's video. We talked about how gold's been trading in this range between 1590, 1600-ish to about 1700. And what do you know? Gold pretty much hovered around the support 1600 all day today. You guys can see we were pretty choppy up and down, but nonetheless, we held 1600. And speaking of gold, I know a lot of you all are waiting on my gold unboxing video because I ordered some physical gold from AppMex and what's the other one? SD Bullion. Well, I got one of the packages here today, and the other one from SD Bullion should be coming later on today. So at some point this week, if you guys are interested, probably some of you aren't, but for those of you that are interested, some point later this week, expect the gold video. Quick little video showing you guys what I got and kind of why I see value in precious metals. I'm not a doomsdayer. I'm not one of those guys, but I do see value in having, let's say, 5 to 10% in some gold, silver, and I'm going to show you guys that in the next couple of days. When we're taking a look here at crude oil today saw a pretty big spike, and the futures, it seems like, they spiked after hours, and now they're taking a little dump here. But overall, crude oil is up into the 21 level, $21 per barrel at this point. And it's always interesting to watch crude oil, especially as we are at 18-year lows at this point. And it really it's one of the reasons why the market is down. It's not solely the reason why the market is down, but if you guys remember when we saw that massive tank in crude oil, the market the next day, it did very poorly, or the futures that night did poorly. So I'm watching crude oil as always, and of course, like I traded today, natural gas, NGK20. This is the future, the contract that I'm watching right now to trade UGAS and DGAS. And a lot of the time, guys, when the markets are crazy volatile, I'm focusing a lot on these leveraged ETNs, and I just see a lot of potential in them, right? And I like sharing what I see potential and what I personally trade here on the channel with you guys. So overall, we got through pretty much everything. At this point, I'm being very cautious. I have a lot more cash than normal. I'm obviously doing my intraday trading, not much swing trading whatsoever. If anything, guys, if I were to swing trade anything, it would be something like a GLD, which is simply a gold ETF that tracks the price of gold. Other than that, I'm not interested in swing trading, and honestly, in terms of my long-term investing, I haven't been buying much recently because I'm still waiting again for that next leg down. If the S&P were to test 2100, 2200, that is where I'm going to start adding more money. And of course, anything under 2000, guys, on the S&P, I'm going to start adding a bit heavier into my positions, my favorite stocks out there that I think are going to withstand, that I think can make it through the financial problem that we are experiencing right now. I'm not looking to buy some crazy spec stocks right now, although I do own some small positions in some MJ stocks, NIO, an electric vehicle company in China, but other than those, I'm not looking to add anything to any spec play that might not make it through, right? And that's kind of the strategy that I'm using right now. So overall, guys, that is it for today's video. If you all enjoyed this video, hit that like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see further content like this. And if you want to support the channel and me further here for all the free content that I'm creating on YouTube, feel free to go down below and claim your 2 free stocks from Webull using my affiliate link in the description. All you have to do is put in $100 and you get those 2 free stocks, one valued up to $1,400. So I'll catch you all in the next video. Good luck out there. Stay safe. And yeah, just stay safe, guys. It's a crazy time we are in, and peace out.